Welcome back, everyone. I recently went to see Renaissance on their final tour, and I wanted to talk a little about the band and the concert experience. I did write a more comprehensive review for the Renaissance in Gratitude Farewell Tour for dprp.net. I will leave a link in the description below. This is my first written review, so cut me a little slack. Okay, let's begin. Come along with me as I travel to Homer, New York, below Syracuse. You couldn't ask for a nicer fall afternoon as the sun was setting. Since we have a ways to go, this will give me an opportunity to give a brief history of Renaissance. Renaissance is a progressive rock band that saw its fair share of significant changes, and not only throughout their over 50 years of existence. Some of these changes occurred very early on. Originally formed by ex-members of the Yardbirds, Keith Relf and Jim McCarty, Renaissance was a means to merge rock and folk with classical music. This was a movement taken on by many progressive rock artists at the time. Keith Relf's sister Jane would also contribute vocals. This incarnation released 2 albums, the first self-titled in 1969 and the second called Illusion, released in 1971. By their third album, Prog, released in 1972, the band would be almost completely overhauled, and this is where Annie Haslam made her first appearance as lead vocalist. John Tout would take over keyboard duties, Terry Sullivan on drums, John Camp on bass, and Michael Dunford on guitar, who would also compose most of the music to lyrics by Betty Thatcher. It became clear that Tout's wonderful classical piano playing and Annie's 5-octave range made the band stand out, and throughout the 70s, Renaissance would release a slew of fantastic albums. They could literally do no wrong. Surprisingly, most of their success came in the United States, even recording a live album in Carnegie Hall with the New York Philharmonic. As the 80s appeared, music was changing, and so did Renaissance. Even Annie recognized not for the better. Members would depart and recordings would become more sparse, with only Annie Haslam and Michael Dunford left from their most prolific period. Dunford's sudden passing in 2012 would only leave Annie as a resurgence in touring would continue. Annie did have a solo career throughout the years, starting with Annie in Wonderland in 1977, produced by none other than Roy Wood. I did speak with Annie on the phone once after I bought artwork from her in November of 2019. And I can only describe her and the conversation as fascinating. We talked about her family, John Wetton, and other interesting topics. She was very wise, but maintained a childlike wonder. This brings us to the Renaissance in Gratitude Farewell Tour. We arrived at the Homer Center for the Arts just after sundown. The building was a Baptist church built at the very end of the 19th century, and has been converted to a 400-seat theater about 20 years ago. Renaissance took the stage at 8 o'clock, and it became immediately clear that Annie Haslam had lost nothing. She sang effortlessly throughout the entire night and showed off her impressive range. The setlist covered many old favorites from the 70s. Annie even sang Island from the first Renaissance album that even predated her as a member of the band. The band was in top form with pianist Rave Tessar doing John Tout justice, but he is very skilled in his own right. The rest of the band sounded very tight. Each had an opportunity to put their talents on full display. Hats off to the sound people who really made the music fill the space perfectly. Annie also spent time between songs to tell stories and go through the history of the band with charm and humor. I did get a couple of pictures with a few band members, this one with guitarist Mark Lambert and another with keyboardist Rave Tessar and bass player John Galgano. I also bought a very reasonably priced tour poster signed by Annie Haslam for $10, a steal in my opinion. This may be the final curtain call for Renaissance, but hopefully not for Annie Haslam. Annie portrayed such elegance as she has throughout her career spanning over 50 years. She even joked about the next farewell tour, so this might be it for the band. I think we've all been fooled by farewell tours in the past. I'm talking about you, Peter Frampton. I do think this was more of a celebration of over 50 years of music and less of a farewell. Luckily, Renaissance will live on in their music, leaving an indelible legacy for generations. Their contribution to progressive rock was unique and cannot be overstated. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.